Good afternoon and welcome back to another video. How are we all doing? All good, I hope. So in today's video we're going to be looking at tyres. If you own one of these, you'll know that the stock tyres aren't really much cop. There's loads of different types of tyres out there on the market, and since having my Surron, I've tried 3 of the most popular. So I'm going to give my review on which tyres you should and shouldn't buy in 2024 for your Surron. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. Tyres on the Surron. There's hundreds of different variants out there. Everyone's got their own opinion on what they like, what they don't like. Whether you're looking for off-road tyres, on-road tyres, the size of tyre, there's so many different factors to this. So having my Surron for over a year now, I've had 3 different types of tyres. So I just want to run through and give my opinion on what I think about them. So starting off with number 1, you have got the stock tyres. Now, as everybody knows, the stock tyres are pretty shocking. They're sort of great as an entry-level tyre, but the more and more you get into the Surron, the more and more you get riding one, it soon becomes apparent that they're not quite good enough. If you're riding one of these casually, you're not really too fussed about doing any major off-road or anything like that, they're probably going to satisfy your needs. What I found with the stock tyre is they are quite soft. They don't last particularly long, and the grip for me wasn't quite enough for the sort of places that I ride. The other thing I found about the stock tyre is the look of them. They don't look particularly knobbly, they don't look particularly wide and thick. It gives it an appearance to be quite skinny when it's actually on the rim. So a couple of months in, once I got used to my bike, I went out and upgraded the rear tyre. So I went for the Maxxis rear tyre. It fits perfectly onto the stock rim. It's got a little bit more grip to it, it's a little bit wider, and just makes the bike look a little bit nicer. And for the most part, I was really happy with Maxxis tyre. It performed exactly how I needed it to. It was super grippy. It gave me loads of traction when I was riding off-road. So then when I'm riding on-road, I found that it wasn't too bumpy. It still just about gave me enough grip for tarmac. And I was sort of say it's borderline. You wouldn't want to ride that Maxxis tyre on the road all the time. It really is an off-road tyre. The next thing I've got to say about the Maxxis tyre is the weight of it. For a bigger tyre than stock, it came in quite a good weight, and I'll run through the weights later on in this video just so you can compare and make your own mind up. Price point on the Maxxis tyre as well was pretty good. I think I paid about 60 quid for the tyre. Now in terms of the actual compound of the tyre, it's not a particularly hard wearing tyre. I would say riding the bike sort of once a week with a variation of on-road and off-road, you're probably looking at you're going to want to be changing them after about a year. Now to some people that's probably horrendous. You don't want to be changing tyres every year. Personally for me, I don't mind that. With these bikes, I love modifying them. I love exploring new things. And tyres are one of those things that kind of nice to have a little switch up every now and again, because I might not always be riding this thing off-road for the rest of the time that I own it. So the fact that I'm almost pushed into buying a new tyre, I can then look at and explore different options. It also then changes the look of the bike as well. Obviously, if you own one or you know anyone that owns one, we don't like to keep these things stock. They're completely unique to the rider, so just because I like a particular tyre or a particular graphics kit or style doesn't mean that everyone will. That's kind of the thing that I absolutely love about this. But yeah, on the whole, I really do rate the Maxxis tyre. One of the other things that's really good about it is the installation. Simple, as long as you've got the right tools and you take your time, it's pretty easy to install. Now moving on from that point of changing the bike up and looking to put new parts on it, it was getting to just over that year point where I thought I'm going to need to look to sort of change the tyres up. I was finding trying to get a bit of traction when I'm trying to get across wet grass or mud, it was slowly starting to spin up and it just wasn't quite what it was. So back online, let's see what we've got. Now one of the tyres that I picked up on about 6 months ago was made by a company called Fortra. Now the thing that stands out with the Fortra tyres is probably the biggest tyre that you can fit onto the stock rim without causing any issues in regards to rubbing. So the size of the Fortra tyre that I've gone for is an 80-119, as opposed to the stock and the Maxxis, which was a 70-119. So you got a bit more girth there. The other thing that's massively apparent is the grip. This tyre is so knobbly, it's ridiculous. Hence why I think you can only really put them on the rear wheels of a Surron. I think if you were to put it on the front wheel, you would probably have to cut some of those knobbles off just to clear your suspension forks. So yeah, looks wise, it's the closest thing you're probably going to get to a motocross tyre. And performance wise, this thing is an absolute beast. It is so grippy in every kind of terrain. I say every kind of terrain, off-road. I don't really think there's going to be many tyres that are going to beat this. Hill climbs, wet ground, mud, this thing absolutely chews through it all. It's ridiculous. But with that, there are some downsides. And it is making me question the tyre. You almost have ultimate traction, ultimate grip, but you sacrifice quite a few other things. Now, number one being, you can probably see how much dirt is probably hitting the camera lens and hitting me in the face. Now, I still have a pretty chunky, I've got the Maxxis on the front and the Fortra on the back. The majority of the mud that you can see on camera is actually coming off the back wheel. It's so knobbly that it churns the dirt and throws it up my back and completely over my head. And then as I'm riding, I'm just riding into the dirt that it's throwing up. Now, is that an issue? I don't know. First world problems, probably. But after a bit of a ride, my goggles then become caked in mud. For filming on a camera, the lens gets caked in mud. And this is only the dirt that you can see being thrown over me. The rest of the mud is being thrown up the back of the bike, up the back of me. So, if you are looking for the Fortra tyre, be prepared, you are not going to have a clean ride. This thing just chews up mud for fun. So there you can see the amount of dirt that this thing collects. It's not only got mud in it, this is literally the field. The nice thing is though, even with that amount of dirt compacted in it, you still get ample amounts of grip. Going forward to the Maxxis tyre, obviously this doesn't have as much tread on there now, but you are getting way more grip with the Fortra. So I have been told that the Fortra is a self-cleaning tyre. Now, I wonder, you're probably thinking, what the hell do you mean by self-cleaning tyre? What it does is, as soon as you get off this dirt and hit back onto the road, you do find that all of this dirt literally just flies out of the wheel. So when I get home later on, you will find that actually that tyre, apart from being stained in mud, there's no actual physical chunks of mud left in it. I did find with the Maxxis, I'd have to put the pressure on it to get all of that mud out. So a bit of an advantage, I would say. It will clean itself to a certain extent. So you can see how much mud is just coming off the wheels right now. So activating the self-cleaning mode. But the other thing you've really got to consider with these bikes is we want them to be as fast as possible. And to get them as fast as possible, they need to be lightweight, streamlined. Putting this tyre on this bike is just not going to make this thing fast. It will give you good acceleration and good torque in the mud, more slippery terrain, but this tyre weighs an absolute ton. It's almost a pound heavier than the Maxxis tyre, as it weighs just under 6.5 pounds. It is an absolute beast. So definitely consider that and the style of riding you're doing. The absolute other massive downside to this tyre is installing it. It's so thick, it's near on impossible unless you've got the right tools and some machinery to hold the wheel in place. It is near on impossible to fit this thing. I would say it took me nearly the best part of about 2 hours to get this thing installed onto the bike. And then once I had it on the bike, I'd actually pinch the tube. It's just horrendous. It's so difficult unless you really do have the right tools for the job. So after my 2 hour stint of trying to install it, I actually ended up taking it to a motorbike repair shop and got them to do it. And even then, the guy that installed it with the machinery ended up pinching the inner tube because the walls of this tyre are so tough. So definitely consider that if you're looking to get this tyre, definitely consider installation.
In my vision, sipping on that bass sauce, la da da. How we eating Kobe steak hot, la da da. Got that fish sushi grade raw, la la la. I'm on vacation, I'ma stay off, la la la. Now I'm taking all my days off, la la la. Yeah.
He ruined me wheelie. So yeah, there's a few pros and a few cons there for you to consider, but basically fantastic tyre for being a tyre. For grip, for looks especially, the thing looks incredible, but it definitely does come with its downsides. I will do a review in the next sort of 6 months, 8 months, something like that, just so that we can see the wear and tear on the tyre. Like I said, the Maxis did run out a lot quicker than really I would have expected, but for me personally, I didn't really mind too much because it's just a nice excuse to go and buy something new for the bike. And the last negative I've got to point out with the Fortra tyre is riding on tarmac. If you ride a lot of road or tarmac surfaces, this is definitely not going to be the tyre for you. It's a very uncomfortable ride. You feel absolutely everything. Obviously when you're off-road, you're not going to feel it as much. If you can get over these little bits, then the performance, I think, would probably outdo any other tyre on the market. But there we are then, guys. I'm going to finish the video there. As always, thank you ever so much for watching. It's great to be back out on the bike. It's great to be making videos again. I've got a ton of stuff coming up this year. We've got an awesome video coming up in February. Loads of different riders involved as well. So yeah, proper hyped about that one. Also, we've potentially got a new bike coming to the channel as well. So definitely something to stay tuned for. So yeah, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do so. If you've enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button for me. And I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.